Share. All right. Allie, can you do me a favor? Just because I have the screen up, can you keep an eye out for hands that go up? Because I'm going to have to minimize you guys to be a little smaller.
I can do that. The only thing that I cannot do is admit people because only the
Okay.
presenter can do that.
Okay, then I'll keep that. That should pop up for me. Okay, I think we're good to get started. Thank you, everybody. I'm sure you've met us before, but if not, I always like to introduce who we are. My name is Ashley Ray. I'm the volunteer coordinator for onboarding, recruitment, and events at Michigan Humane. And Allie, if you really want to present yourself real quick.
Alrighty, I am the volunteer coordinator at our Detroit location, and I also oversee our Roseville location, the Roseville Cat Caregivers.
And Kellen from our team could not be here tonight. He's a little under the weather, so we told him just stay home. Don't worry about it. We got this. So if you are looking to do training at Berman, he will be there at our actual on-site boot camp. He's just not here tonight. So he will be your guide for mentoring at that location. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So some of the things that we just want to go over, I know you guys had your little interviews with us. You've gone through kind of what this even is that we're doing. There might be a little bit of a recap on that, but we're really going to talk about some of the ins and outs of actually being a mentor on site. Some of the expectations we have from you, some of the ways that you can handle some different behaviors that you might be coming across when you're a mentor. Let me admit somebody real quick. Sorry. So we're going to define success. What do we actually want to get out of being a mentor? We're going to talk about what it is to be a mentor, navigating our trainees and giving proper feedback to our trainees as well as to your team lead, which would be one of us, and following up that same thing, talking to us when you need to and when it is appropriate to talk about certain things. We'll go over that as well. Okay, so mentors are leaders. So what we really are asking from our mentors for this is obviously you're going to take some of the weight off of us. We have a lot of volunteers. We have about 1,800 active volunteers in our organization, and we have new ones coming in every day. So even though you might not see them all, they're doing all sorts of different jobs for us at different times, and that's pulling us in all these different directions. And as much as we would love to be that person always available to you, it's really hard for us to do that. So mentors do come in and they take some of that weight off of us, but you're also becoming a person who can be relied on as a partner to new volunteers that come in, or maybe they're not new necessarily, but they're new to this role. It's somebody else that they can reach out to and can feel confident in talking to if they're struggling. So it's kind of twofold, and not saying that you have to field everything that comes across, but it is nice to kind of have another volunteer who might be going through the same hardship as somebody else. You might have struggled with the same thing, and you can give them some good feedback on how to handle a situation with an animal. Just another person that they can kind of go to if they see you in the hallway and go, I'm having a hard time getting this dog back, and I know you're the person who can help me. That's what we're looking for, is people who can help. So, a couple things to know as a mentor. It's okay to not have the answer. Allie and I don't always have the answer. The shelter is huge. The shelter is always changing. You do not have to feel like you know every single little thing. And I tell you that for two reasons. One, that it's okay that you can just say, I don't know. Let me find out from Allie later. Or that you just don't have to feel like you have to have every single little bit of knowledge to be a mentor. You don't. You can build those things on your way. You're going to learn more skills as you go. So you don't have to be perfect just as you start out. That is not something that we're expecting from you guys. Just as I said, we're not looking for perfection is our next bullet here. So we're not. We're just looking for you to be a friendly face, to be supportive, and give the best guidance that you possibly can in the situation that you're given. You have to be able to adjust your approach if needed. So you're working with people. People are different. Every single person you walk up to is going to be a little bit different from the last one. They're going to have different learning styles. They're going to have different communication styles. They're going to have different reasons that they're volunteering. And so it's just a good quality to be able to just adjust your approach if needed. If you're showing them something, maybe that's not the best way. Maybe you need to sit down and discuss it a little bit better. Or the other way, maybe you're talking too much and maybe you're realizing it's not really sinking in. Let me actually go show you. Just having that ability to kind of flip it up if you need to, that's a really good thing to have. Showing patience and to not be afraid to step in when needed. Um, like I mentioned, we would love to have people who just kind of have that little bit of confidence of if you see a volunteer that you maybe trained recently, are you okay stepping in and saying, "Hey, I noticed that you're having a hard time with that. Do you mind if I show you a way that I do it?" Those kind of things can go a really long way to make people feel confident, especially if they're struggling with an animal and they're feeling like they're failing. So just having additional people who can join in and do that is fantastic. Um, as well as not being afraid to step in when something maybe is going not the greatest during your training. We are giving you permission, obviously not to be mean. Please don't be mean to your trainees. I don't think any of you on this call are that type of person. Um, but just to have that confidence, and it's something that we've had to build too, and it might take some time, but it is perfectly appropriate to say, we tried this a couple times. I'm noticing that your dog is getting stressed out and I'm gonna take them now. That's appropriate. It's okay. Your goal is to make sure to keep everyone safe, to keep yourself, the volunteer, and the dog or the cat or whoever you're training with safe. So it's okay when you have to step in and make those decisions. We're giving you that okay to have to do that. And then knowing and admitting your limits. This is a biggie, and I'm sure because I think most of you already work with animals on site, but there comes a time when something might not be for you. And we have always told you guys that it is okay to make that decision, but especially in this circumstance, because what you don't want to do is give the wrong impression to your volunteers. So if you're walking through the kennels and your volunteer that you're working with really wants to get, this cat out that is showing all of these signs, that maybe you don't want to get them out, use it as a teaching moment and say, you know what? I'm not comfortable with that animal and I'm going to show you why. Same thing with dogs. If you get a dog out and you're like, you know what, actually, this dog is way too big for me, going right back in. That is perfectly fine. And Allie and I, Jen, Kellen, we have all done that, and it is perfectly appropriate. The best thing that can come out of that is that a volunteer learns that that's okay for them to do as well. So don't be afraid of that. But also know your limits when it comes to giving time to being a mentor. We do not expect you to be there every single day. We only expect you to have availability once a month, or yeah, well, once a month, Allie, am I right? Let me just double check that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just have to be
Okay.
on site once a month. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Once a month, you're welcome to do some more than that, but don't try to be there all the time. We want to make sure that you still also get to be a volunteer yourself. I know this is a volunteer role, but if you like spending time with the dogs on your own, we still want you to be able to do that. So don't push yourself. If you need a break at any time, let us know. That's perfectly appropriate. Um, but yeah, those are our big key things that we want to take away from this tonight and moving forward in your training. Allie, do you want to add anything for this slide?
Yeah, I just really love how you talked about knowing your limits. I definitely use that specific tool each and every time that I train a volunteer, whatever I'm training them with, is I'm being being transparent, and I'm humanizing the role and relating it to them. So, for example, like Ashley said, that dog is like 75 pounds. We'll take him out, but I call them play yard dogs, and I explain why I do it the way that I do it, and it gives them kind of a perspective, and it also allows them to envision themselves in the role and set them up for success ultimately. And like Ashley also said, showing patience is just giving that person grace because they might not have ever volunteered in a shelter environment before. So it's like she said, it's a educational moment for each and every person just to share that knowledge, being advocates, because that's also what you're also being an advocate for Michigan Humane, being an advocate for volunteerism. So that's all I wanted to
Cool.
add.
Oh, thank you. That's great. Um, I really just want to build a tiny bit off of that actually too. This is
Mhm.
your opportunity to talk and share your story, and build a relationship with a volunteer. So don't shy away from that. Obviously, get the stuff that you need to get done in that time frame that you're training done, but this is an opportunity for you to potentially build a partnership with somebody, and make them feel welcome and hear their stories. So, and I know you guys like to share them. We love to hear them, and I'm sure other people do. So, any of those quips about your time as volunteering or why you came, that's gonna just make this role more human as well. I know you probably all remember being like new and coming to the shelter for the first time. It can be really intimidating. And having someone who can bring that level down a little bit and make you feel like you don't have to be perfect. And if you mess up, it's okay, is only going to help them want to stay more. So you guys are helping in that way as well. Oh, no, not this problem again. Forgive us, everybody. There's like an odd, crazy link that lives in these presentations that just pops up randomly. So forgive me. I'm going to use my keys, hopefully. Okay, better. All right. So we might have talked about this a little bit, but trainees are individuals. They're all going to be different people. They're going to come from different backgrounds, just like you guys, just like us. That is a huge thing at Michigan Humane, right? Is that we care for the people behind the leash. We care about each individual and what their story is and where they come from and why they're here, regardless of what role they're playing in our organization. So you're going to have to expect a couple different varying skills and levels of comfortability. So I'm going to break down a couple of these. I'm going to try not to go too in depth because I don't want to keep you guys forever. But these are some of the examples that we've come across just over time, or some of the things that we hear commonly from people who come to our organization. So some of these I'm going to give an answer to, and some of them I'm going to reach out to you guys and see what you think your answer would be. But I've had dogs my whole life. Be a dismissive type of way of talking to us, unfortunately. Doesn't mean that's always how they're meaning it, but sometimes they, are like, ah, I got this. I've had dogs. We know that shelter dogs are different, right? They're in a different situation. That's a place where you guys can add some information. How I would personally handle this if someone was kind of writing me off of like, I only really need this training, I'd say that's awesome that you've had dogs your whole life. So you've got a little bit of information already coming into this, and I love that. I've also had dogs my whole life, but working here, I've really learned that these animals are different than the dogs I had growing up. They're going through X, Y, Z, and that's why we need to do this. Um, Totally not trying to diminish what they're saying at all, but trying to give them something. I'm on the same level as you. I know what you're meaning, and I might have had those same ideas at one point or another too. But here, let me give you some information as to why I've had to change my thinking while I'm in this organization. Um, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's okay. This is where, if it doesn't work and you're struggling with this, you can always come talk to one of us. But that's an example. They all look stressed. They probably are all stressed. You can kind of make a little joke out of it. The ability to kind of laugh at the hardship that we have is a good thing to have. Yeah, they probably all do look pretty stressed. This is a stressful environment. But you know what? We're here to help with that. So you know what? Let's walk down and let's point out the couple different stressed out behaviors that we're seeing. And why don't you tell me what you're seeing? And then we can make a decision together of who we might want to take out and spend time with so that maybe they're a little less stressed. That's an easy way that you can handle that with somebody. Um, I've been bitten before. That one doesn't happen a ton, but it can happen with dogs and cats. Cat bites do happen. Um, and really in this one, it's being sympathetic. Allie, how would you kind of talk to somebody who's mentioned that they've been bit before?
It all depends on whether it was a cat or a dog, definitely. I would tailor it to that. But let's talk about dog, for example. I would ask them to explain kind of the situation that of how it happened and what happened and what led up to the bite and such. And I would honestly use it as I'm validating what you're telling me. I'm acknowledging that this has happened to you and this is kind of a trigger for you if a dog potentially might, soft mouth you or whatnot. Um, but I would use it as an educational moment on what we can do in this environment in the now. So this outcome will be lessened, right? So for instance, if we're out and we're walking a dog, and I notice that the dog starts to get a little bit more aroused and he starts, pulling at the leash a little bit, I would use that moment as this dog's getting a little bit aroused. he's mouthing the leash a little bit, that could potentially turn to the dog potentially mouthing on her clothing, and then it can heighten from there. So let's go ahead and put that dog away. So that way it's setting them up for success for seeing the small stacked triggers that is happening. And that way they feel empowered that they are seeing that themselves, and it will result in them not being bitten.
Yeah. I like how you, first and foremost are validating their experience.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, if you guys haven't seen it, because obviously we see different things as staff, but we have people who come in to volunteer because they want to get over their fear of dogs. That has happened to us several times, and I actually love that. I think that that's really brave of people to want to do something like that. We want to take it delicately and tenderly, and we want to make sure that we do that properly. But we do have people who come in like that. They want to get over their fear of the neighbor's pit bull or something like that. So I
Yeah.
love that. Um, sorry, Allie.
Breed fears as well, like Ashley was
Mhm.
saying. Like some people are really fearful of pit bulls. One time I had to really the pleasure of, educating a potential adopter about a pit bull. Her kids really, really loved this. Her name was Medea, and she was sweet as pie. She was so scared of the dog, and I stepped outside and I was talking to her about it, and I was talking about, the negative stigmas behind pit bulls and such. And I talked about her personally as an individual dog. And I actually got her to actually meet the dog, and they did a foster to adopt. And she actually ended up falling in love with the dog. So I really believe that being in any type of fear or any type of circumstance that the person might have been through, it's a great opportunity for them to be educated
Yeah.
and, you know, um, desensitize them in a sense, if that's the right word that I'm trying to look for.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, obviously, we don't ever want to push people. We want to make it on their own
Yeah,
terms, but we
exactly.
are a secure environment that that kind of can happen. Where else can you just learn to be okay with pit bulls in a safe environment? That's us, you know? So
Yeah.
that's great. And yeah, I always want to just reiterate too that if you guys are coming across these kind of issues at all, even if you've got it kind of worked out, like, maybe you were able to work with that person who was bit before, um, to always let us know. We want to get that feedback from you guys as mentors. If it went great or if it didn't, those are things that are just going to add to us. We can put notes in service for people so that we can, kind of spread that word against our team so that we maybe don't walk a dog right up to that person or something. That's good information for us to know whether it goes positive or negative. So please always let us know. This next one, I'm actually going to ask you guys if any of you have an appropriate answer for it's loud and it stinks in here. Allie, I don't know if you can see everybody on your end, but does
Let me
anybody
see.
have a response that they would give a new volunteer?
Just
Like,
come off of mute. It seems like Brian's got something to say. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I would say the staff does really good, their best here, but poop does happen. And
Yeah.
really, if I, being an animal here, if I was one, that's our job is to try and get them to their forever homes. So, yeah,
yes.
something like
Yeah,
that.
that's great. I appreciate you talking up staff because that sometimes can be a hardship that we come across is that people feel like we're not doing enough as it is,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you've been here and you recognize and it's not always perfect, but we're trying our best. That's why we're all here, right? So I appreciate that. And I also appreciate what you said at the end. I think when Jen first went over this with me, um, this was an example that I got when I was in training too of like if someone says it's loud and it stinks in here, she goes, "Yeah, and imagine how it is for the animals." So
yeah,
that's why we're here.
right.
And I thought that that was really impactful. And that's kind of what she said too of like, yeah, we're here to try and fix that problem. So, um, and that can set with some people and they feel like, you know what? Yeah, I'm empowered to help clean those kennels more now. It does suck in here and I want to do better. And sometimes it can't. So, but that's a great response. Thank you, Brian. I love that. Anybody else have a little thing they want to add to that? I think that was great. No? Okay, cool. The next one here is why can't I work with the animals right away? So if you guys are familiar We do put most people, I will say there's a little bit of a caveat sometimes when we need to, or specific abilities or anything like that. Most of the time we put people through center maintenance first, and there's a couple reasons for that. Does anyone like want to share, know the reasons? You can come off mute, why we don't jump right into handling animals your first time. Anybody? I can't see anybody, so please come off mute. if you have-
Oh, I'm looking. I don't see anybody attempting to.
I can try it. I don't
Go
want
ahead.
to steal the
Okay.
show here, but
You're good.
I think it, at least my experience is, it gets us comfortable with the environment of this particular shelter. And I volunteered at other shelters too, and they do the exact same thing. So,
Mhm.
you don't just want to walk in and, jump right into cats and dogs. You want to kind of get comfortable with the environment, and, the staff members you need to contact for help and stuff like that. That's kind of
Great.
my on it.
Yep. Nope. That is perfect.
Go
We
ahead,
do.
Tom.
Oh, sorry.
No, and I think one of the best things is to let them know, look, there's much more to your particular job than just working with the animals. There is cleaning of the cages, there's the laundry, there's all of the other things which are just as important. And, the dogs and cats really appreciate you by doing the other things first and getting familiar with those things, and then coming in and you can see exactly what and while you're doing all of those other things, you're observing other people in their interaction with the animals.
Yep. Yeah, those are both great reasons. Those are exactly what I was gonna say, what both you guys said. So yeah, it's getting familiar. That's one. Our shelters are huge. You guys have been in there. It's like really hard to walk around. So imagine trying to walk around that with a dog in your hand at the same time, or finding the materials that you need. It's also kind of just like Tom said, just being aware of all the work that goes into it. We do want to cuddle the puppies. We do want to play with the kittens. That's great, but there's more to this work than just that. That makes sure that they stay healthy and happy, and can go into adoption. So super duper important. We have lessened it so that people don't have to stay there as long, especially because we have more volunteers than we used to. So, but kudos to everyone. I always just want to say this, kudos to everyone who continues to do center maintenance work, even after moving on to a positive start role. You guys aren't required, but I absolutely love that you do that. And I know most of you on this call, I don't know who everyone who's on this call, but I'm sure you do help in some way still back there. So thank you for doing that.
And
And
shelter care as well, because all of
yes.
those roles are just interconnected, as you guys both said, in so many different ways. They all connect to each other. So
So
it's
vital.
definitely important that you mentioned that as well. I always talk about too, with center maintenance, and when I'm doing my orientations, I say, if we're cleaning each and every dog kennel, and there's about 100 dogs in our care, and we're doing like the initial cleaning, the deep cleaning in the morning, and we're doing the patrols at night, that's 2 blankets per dog. So the work has to get done.
Yep. Yep. It's got to get done, no matter how
Yeah.
gross it is. Um, this last one here, I'm going to give you guys the answer for this one. I'm sure some of you may know this answer, but I just want to make sure that I give you the correct answer. So are you a no-kill shelter? Usually this comes around right at the beginning. So if you're working as like a first touch point center maintenance mentor, this is where this might come in. Not very often, but I will say it can come through. So are you a no-kill shelter? My answer typically is that no kill is actually by percentage. And any rescue or any shelter has to meet that percentage in order to be considered a no kill rescue. We are very high in that percentage, but unfortunately, we take every animal. We can't be selective, just like some of our rescues can be. If it's, you know, a golden retriever rescue, maybe they're only taking golden retrievers or something like that, that may be a little bit easier to place than other things. So we do have a high percentage, but that also includes wildlife, which can bring that percentage down for us. And we also do things for court cases and things that are not in our jurisdiction to make the decision for. So that also is a contributing factor to us. So you can go into depth with it, but the answer overall is that we are not a no-kill shelter. However, we are very close to the percentage that is required to be a no-kill shelter, which we take pride in that number. If they would like to discuss this more and you're not comfortable or you feel like you don't know the correct answer, you can always direct them to me or Allie or Jen or Kellen. We are happy to take that off your hands and have a deeper discussion, which can sometimes get complicated. Usually not. Usually they're like, oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that it's still a good number. But in the rare case that it becomes more of it, we are happy to take that off of your hands.
I just
Go
would
ahead.
like to just add that too, with all of these things that we kind of gone over, if you feel yourself that the conversation is getting a little bit, oops, sorry, my dogs are barking. It's getting a little bit too in depth and it's making you uncomfortable to go ahead and address that. You can always say, let me go ahead and, get you set up with Ashley or Allie or Kellen, and they can talk that through further with you because we don't want that's not your responsibility as a mentor to continue further with that conversation if you do not feel comfortable yourself. So just wanted to add that little tidbit.
Yeah, and also shouldn't take away from your training, even though this
Yes.
is important information and you may want them to know as many things as you can possibly tell them. That's how I am. Sometimes I get derailed, but don't let it take away from your actual goal of what you're trying to train them in that day either, because you're limited on time. So if it feels like it's going to go longer, you can always give it to us and we can carve out specific time for these things.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're talking to your volunteers, we kind of just did this, but this is just a recap. So be clear and actionable in your feedback. So giving specific examples, always fantastic. Not just giving an answer and moving on. If you can give examples, that's going to help a lot with people understanding what you're talking about. A lot of these shelter words we use and stuff don't really make a lot of sense to people right at the beginning. So if you can actually explain it and show them, you can show them potentially, and actually lay that out for them is going to be really helpful. Details are important. Not just taking the leash from somebody and saying you're doing it wrong. Why are we doing it wrong? What is this going to cause if we keep doing it this way? How is this going to hurt the animal's experience with us if we keep doing it this way? Any of those are great explanations to give. Ask them to explain it back to you in your own words. So this isn't always necessary, but sometimes if you're concerned that maybe they're not paying attention or they didn't really hear you, or maybe you gave them some instruction and then they did it and they still did it the way you told them not to, and now you're like, are you really getting me? You can have them explain it back. So for example, I'm going to hold the kennel door this way because this is going to happen and I want to make sure that you don't get hurt. Great. Okay. So can you just tell me what I just said? Or can you tell me what you heard or something like that? It can be really, really simple. But just letting them say it back to you. A lot of times, people learn that way too. If they say it back, it's kind of a second solidification for them. So that can help in your process as well. And kind of a recap at the end sometimes is really nice. I've done that as well of like, can you tell me a couple of the things that we talked about when it came to looking for fear? Can you tell me some of the signs that you remember that we talked about when we're looking for dogs with arousal? Just bringing those in every once in a while to make sure that they're still kind of paying attention can be really helpful. Ellie,
I
were you
was
gonna
just
say
going
something?
to add that also when you're actually doing the training as well, having them to try it. Oh my goodness. Having them to try it after you do it as well and just like, just oh my goodness. Just just do the activity right after you have done it. I feel like that's really helpful as well.
Yeah, that is really helpful. Um, I will give you guys a really kind of short run through, and we'll do this at your boot camp too, but kind of the process that I do when I'm doing a training is that before I know I have a training scheduled today and it's with dogs. I'm going to go walk the floor and just kind of take a peek at who my options are today. And I'm going to mentally make a note of the type of dogs that I see. So maybe I see a dog that has some arousal. Maybe I see a big dog. Maybe I see a dog who's pretty fearful. Okay, those are going to stay in my head because they're going to be good teaching dogs. Then I'm going to do my little bit of my presentation, and then come back out with the volunteer. I usually will take a dog first so that I can show them front to beginning, front to back, what getting them out of the kennel looks like, take them outside. If I think that that dog is doing pretty well, I'm going to say, would you like to walk them now? And then I can talk to them while they're walking and give them some feedback, and then take them back in. And I usually will let them try to put the dog back. They didn't see me put the dog back. That's okay. They might lose the dog. That's okay, because we're going to always use it as a teaching moment. I don't want to just take the dog from them and do it myself every time because I'm scared of what might happen. Obviously, if there's another dog out or something, I might do that so that the environment is safe. But if it's in an empty space and we can put that dog back and not have to worry if it gets loose, I'm going to let them try it. Because sometimes you do have to kind of fail and learn from your mistakes, and that's okay. Always make sure it's a safe environment. But I want to give them that opportunity. So then if they're feeling confident after they put that dog back, say, do you want to pick a dog now? And let them go through and pick. And then maybe there's a thing that I see with that dog and I go, so why did you pick this dog? Can you tell me why? And then they can tell me, and then I can tell them, actually, you know what I'm seeing is that this dog is fearful. Let's try it. Let's see what happens when we open the door. And then I'm going to use that more as a teaching moment. Maybe that dog ran to the back. Okay, did you see that the dog did this when we opened the door? Now it's running to the back of the kennel. And this is probably why. So let's go pick another dog that might look a little bit different. And that might happen a couple times so they get used to reading body language. Again, these people may have never really had to read body language before. And it might take a couple times. But I'm going to try and give them as many opportunities as possible in the short time that we have. And I'm also going to take them around the property if I'm a dog trainer to different parts of the property too, so that they can try those things out. So maybe we go to the play yard, maybe we go for a walk, maybe we go into the indoor spaces. Try to give them as many of those options as possible. And that's usually why we do 2 follow-ups for training, because you're not going to fit everything in. But yeah, let me go back to that. So I just wanted to give you guys kind of a layout of what that looks like and some of the opportunities where you can give feedback. But always try to make it simple and be really direct about it. Don't be afraid to give them feedback. That's what you're here for. We're the trainers, we are the people who are giving the good information so that they can do well with their role. So it's okay to just say, that didn't work out. That's okay though. Let's do it this other way because of this. It's totally appropriate. And like I said, it might take a little bit of time to get that confidence of that, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. We'll help you guys work through that.
I feel like too, Ashley, that this is a great place too to add your personal preferences as well and what works for you as a volunteer. Like I said earlier in the previous slide, just humanizing the role and having them kind of see how they can be successful in the role and what could apply to them, as long as it's within our safety bubble that we teach everybody. But I feel like that's a great place to put that as well.
Yeah. Build some relationship there. I clicked it. I was afraid it was going to go to the link. Okay, so I'm going to involve you guys a little bit too in this one. So what would you do? Let me pick some fun things here. Let's do this. If the volunteer incorrectly identifies body language and the cat is actually overstimulated or scared, and they choose that kennel and open the cage, what would you do if that whole instance happened? You can tell me what they said or what you would do, yourself, you can tell me what you would say or what you would do in that situation. Does anybody want to try it out? Incorrectly identifies body language for an overstimulated, scared cat.
I'll go if nobody else will.
Go ahead, Brian.
I would say, well, first let's close the cage. Did you read the description that the staff member put on it so we can have an understanding of it? Because I've been guilty of this too. You look at the cat, you want to just jump right in and grab it, take it to the room, and the cat just freaks out. And if they bite you, they go in the timeout box for a while. They don't get adopted for longer. It's a bad situation. And I've also had cats, might explain this to them too, where, you go and you realize they don't, you can tell that they're just, having a bad day. And so maybe we're just going to talk to it in the cage and not even try and touch it. And because everybody has bad days sometimes, even if the sheet says cute and cuddly.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah, take a step back and let's go slow, basically.
Yeah, that's good. Tom, I saw you come off mute.
Yeah, especially with cats, if their ears are back, if they're hiding in the back of the cage, if their eyes are as big as saucers, all of those are body images. And what you have to do with a lot of those is that you have the person that you're mentoring say, okay, what do you see on that cat? And if they don't see anything, you point out maybe those three things. If they see something that is wrong, you say, well, look, and I agree with what Brian said in that we all can have bad days. But there's things that you have to look at. And I think what we've really done well is we've had our various sub-sessions where we talk about the various things on cats. You might want to say, here, why don't you come with me? And here's what was described as things that a cat is having an issue with. Please look these over. And you can even say, look, I've incorrectly identified a cat's body language, and, I've been scratched or bit as well, but, we learn, and
Mm-hmm.
you just have to go slowly. But I like the idea of reading what is on the front of the cage first and foremost.
Yes, that should always be in your training to read the paperwork first. And that's even a spot to give some additional information, like talking about what that is and saying that it changes. It does change. I know sometimes we're given this really kind of vague, especially cats, because we don't know a lot about the cats when they come through, but maybe we're giving a little bit of a vague description, but you can pull things out of there that we've tried to get, like this is a cuddly cat, or this is a cat who's got some handling issues, or things like that. I like to tell my volunteers in training that I approach a kennel, cat or dog, whatever it is. I approach a kennel with an animal like I've never met them before. Even if I just worked with them yesterday, they could have had anything happen between that time of when I was here last and when I'm here now. They could have met 50 different people between that time. And now maybe they're not feeling so trustworthy, or maybe something happened with like a little kid who came in and it screamed in its ear and now it's not feeling trustworthy, or they got pulled out for a vaccine. I give those examples and I say that that's why I always make sure that I treat them like a whole new animal, because I don't know who they are today. And they don't know who I am today. So I could be carrying weird stuff with me, the next time I see them. So that's what I try to tell my volunteers, is that approach it like it's a new animal every time. But those were both great. Thank you guys so much for the feed. I love that. Those are perfect answers. I do have, oh, Allie, were you going to say something?
No, I was just gonna say I love all that, and I also love how Tom also included that he has been bitten and scratched before, and he has made mistakes, and this was the result of why when he did what he did, was the result. The cat bit him and the cat scratched him. So learn from me, learn from what I'm teaching you, so that this doesn't happen to you. So again, it's helping the person that you're training just kind of get down to your level, and they're more receptive to it because you're sharing your downfalls, right? And
Yeah.
your experiences. So I love that.
Yeah, that's really, really a great thing to do. We've all been bit or scratched, honestly, if I'm being totally truthful. We've all have, and it happens. And we work in a shelter, those things happen. But how do we handle them appropriately so that we minimize what those situations are? Um, Let me see if there's one more of these that we can pick here.
Let's do the cross-contamination. That's a big one. Where wherever you go, whatever role you're in, your cross-contamination is a big no-no.
Yeah, wait, which one are you looking at? Sorry. Oh,
Um,
touches clean items with dirty gloves. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody is going to be doing center maintenance, this is something you might come across because I have to fight people on gloves sometimes, so that's a biggie. If you have a volunteer who touches clean items with dirty gloves, what is your reaction going to be? Anybody has an
Yeah,
answer?
I'll take that one,
Go ahead.
since I've been doing center maintenance for Mentor for a while. Actually, the first thing I would tell them that it's okay, everything's fixable. But anytime you're in center maintenance, anytime you're dealing with anything that's dirty, always, always wear gloves. Always, just always. And you know, if you touch something cross-contaminated, then you take the dishes or whatever, you just put them back and you just wash them again. But you know, just make sure that you're, just a reminder, it's not anything horrible, it's all fixable. Because I don't want them to think they did something wrong, because it's all fixable. And it's just a reminder to put them back in the dirty stuff, wash them again, just make sure you have your gloves on. If you touch clean items with dirty gloves, I would say, change your gloves, wash your hands, start all over again, put that dirty stuff, before you do that, put that dirty stuff back into the dirty bin or whatever it is, whether it's the laundry or the litter pans or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. The making sure that they know that it's fixable is huge. That is something that a lot of volunteers, they want to do a really good job. They do. They come in and they want to be successful. They want to help. That's why they're here even. And they're scared of messing up. So knowing that it's okay if you mess up, it's not the end of the world. We can fix it. We can learn from it and do it again. So I absolutely love that. I know that if anyone has done their training with Chip Carnish, I know that he would take it a step further and go, we're going to wash it right now. We're not going to put it in the bin. We're going to do it now. Which is okay. You don't have to do it that way, but I do sometimes appreciate him doing that because he's like, we're going to learn that this is what has to get done if we don't change our gloves. So next time it might stick a little better. So different teaching styles of different people, but I do like that he takes the time to go, let's fix it right now, and not leave it for somebody else. So it's kind of a nice touch to it. But yeah, everything is fixable. Even with the animals, things are fixable. One mistake of the dog accidentally gets loose is not going to cause that dog to have like this big detrimental thing. It might set some things back a little bit, but it's not going to be the end of the world. And I don't want you to quit being a volunteer because of it. We
Yes.
can always learn.
Everything's a learning opportunity.
Mhm. Yep. All right, just because of time, I'm going to keep going, but these are different ones that you may come across. We are going to send this out afterwards. So if any of the ones that you're noticing on these, you're kind of like, I don't actually know how I would handle that situation, please feel free to reach out to us and we can discuss it more. I just want to make sure I don't keep you guys over on time.
Also during the boot camps too, when we're actually doing the hands-on too, you can bring your questions at that time as well, and we can kind of talk through it and do like some mock things in
Yeah.
person. So
Yeah, we'll actually throw some at you guys. We'll
yeah.
pretend to be some trainees and give you some challenges. So, all right. So following up, so what does the coordinator need to know after you've done a training with somebody? So regardless of what stage you're doing, if you're doing like the level 1, 2, 3 of our different mentor stages, we want to make sure that you guys follow up with us and we can talk about what that looks like for each individual. It might be like an email right afterward. That's what Chip does for center maintenance. I know we have a volunteer that I send an email out afterward and ask how it goes. So it might be different for everybody, but we'll talk about that later on. Some of the things that we need to know, if they're not following instructions, if they're just kind of like either completely ignoring you or purposely not doing what you're saying, we want to know that information. Again, it doesn't happen all the time, but on rare cases it has. So we just want to make sure we know. Doesn't seem to be retaining the information. So whether that's a learning style or, an issue that they're going through themselves, or maybe they just weren't in the headspace that day, we want to find out what's going on. So please let us know and give us as many details as possible. When I did this, this was kind of their reaction, and I didn't feel like they were listening, so I said it again, but then they still did the wrong thing, and I just am worried that they're not listening or they're not keeping that information. So just let us know if that's a concern that you come across. If they're being rough with the animals or unable to read body language. Something that I say all the time in my trainings is that we are not expecting them to be militant dogs and walk next to us perfectly. If you have a volunteer who's trying to do that, that's a concern for us. We don't need our dogs to be restricted a lot. We're not expecting that from them. We're expecting them to be dogs and be mentally stable while they're with us. So if you're concerned about that, please let us know because we want to make sure that we handle that appropriately. If it is to a concern that you don't know if you can handle it at training, like if you've mentioned something and they're kind of still like, well, my dog was, trained to be a police dog and this is how I work with him. And they kind of dismiss, whatever you're saying, please come and grab a staff member in that, walk back in safely, kind of ignore the issue and make sure you guys get back inside with the dog. But, come and see a staff member. I don't care who it is. They will find you the correct person. If it's not one of us on site, they'll find you the director or however. But if it gets to a point where you are very concerned about how someone's talking to you or anything like that, please keep yourself safe and come talk to us. Not trying to make it sound like crazy people are doing stuff all the time and making our volunteers scared, but we just want you to know that you have that option if anything gets a little out of hand for you.
Yeah, and Ashley is speaking of something that's very rare and very rare and in
Very
between.
rare. Yeah.
That we're just putting this out there, so this is always going to be in the back of your mind that this is your go-to, this is your resource if this were ever to happen.
Mhm. Yeah, my biggest takeaway is that if there's ever an issue that you need staff for and we're not available, say we're not working on site that day, you don't
Mhm.
have to find us. You don't have to call us. There are people that know that you guys are volunteers, know that we have mentors. They will find you the right person so that you have somebody to help you, regardless of the situation. Or if it's a dog that's going, ballistic and you can't get them back in the kennel or whatever, you don't have to find us to get help. Um, has concerns about the organization, beliefs, or practices. What's the answer for that, Allie?
You definitely want to direct them to have a further conversation with one of the coordinators. You
Mhm.
want to also not try to escalate the situation any further. You kind of want to shut that conversation down because we don't want you to have to navigate that. Um, and
So a
definitely,
couple, oh, sorry.
okay, go ahead. And
Uh,
definitely, if they get like, out of pocket, just saying some really, really inappropriate stuff, you want to go ahead and grab a staff member or a manager at that point.
yeah, our examples for this would be eh, I've had situations where, they maybe used to volunteer up with us a long time ago and they come back and they start saying, well, when I was here, this was a problem and this person was a problem. And they're, really kind of talking poorly about our organization. We don't want to add to that. Um, I'm sure you guys are all used to kind of having to shrug things off and you just kind of let it be and you're like, "Oh, that really sucks." It's okay to do that so that you can get through that situation and not, cause any turmoil between you and that volunteer. Um, Perfectly okay. Again, if you're really concerned about it, please get somebody. We are happy to take that off your hands. We don't want you to have to keep enduring that for a 2-hour training.
Yes.
But if you can move past it, great. And then just make sure you let us know that, they really had some serious, serious issues with us. And I'm concerned because that sometimes we can talk to them and we can work through that and we can give them all the resources and make them feel better. And sometimes it doesn't work out and we have to say goodbye because they're not a good advocate for our organization. So we will do that though. Me and Allie and Jen and Kellen, we will handle those things for you guys. But always just trying to keep it, like Allie said, don't escalate it. Just try to move past it, even though it might irk you to no end to hear bad
Yeah.
things about the animals or the staff that you love or whatever. It does not feel good, but it's better to hand that off to us so that we can handle it for you guys. We do not require for you to handle those situations at all. Okay. All right. So we have reached our end here with some time at the end. What I want to do is just open up the floor to hear from you guys if you have questions about anything, if you have questions before the boot camp, if you have questions specifically to mentoring of something you've been thinking about that you're not sure how you might handle, please feel free to do that now. Or even just sharing anything that you think is beneficial to someone else who's being a mentor. If you've got an idea or anything, please share that. Go ahead and come off mute or raise your hand or however you want to do it. Yeah, Diane?
I have a question about the fear-free certification.
Yes.
I emailed Kellen, but I haven't heard from him yet. So I certified fear-free in 2023, but I understand that like it's been more than a year and we're a mentor that we need another certification. So when I log in, I have a password already, and when I get in, all I can do is review them. Like I can't recertify. How do I do that?
That's all we're asking is for you guys to review them, to go back over them, because sometimes they do change. And it should update in Fear Free if it does change. Like it should say that this is like an updated thing. So it may or may not right now, but it can. So that's all we're really asking is for you guys to just go back through it
So
and let
just-
us know.
Just
Yeah,
review the videos on our own and then just let you know. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, because sometimes they do change, just like anything else in a shelter. So you just want to make sure you guys are staying with the most up-to-date information, and keeping that fresh in your mind. So it is kind of on a, what's the word? On a,
In our system.
honor
Yeah.
system. Yeah, just to make
Okay.
sure that you guys are feeling aware.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
unfortunately, there's no way to like get a new certification every year, which I wish there was just for my own sake.
Yeah, we need some continuous education, fear free.
We have to do it every year too. So
Okay, all right,
Yep.
thanks.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Tom.
One of the things, and it's kind of off the beaten track here, but is there a way that we can possibly sign up for ride-alongs,
With our
Like
field
a-
services?
right?
Oh,
Not currently. I have heard something about there's something a little happening, but I don't know if they're ready for that right now.
Okay.
But yeah, not
Yeah.
currently.
we'd have to follow up with you regarding that, Tom. Typically, the ride-alongs, it poses a lot of risk with that, because dogs can be or dogs and cats can be temperamental. We don't want to put volunteers or other staff members at risk. So typically, only you'll see like media go through ride-alongs to just document what's happening. But even with that, they kind of stay at a safe distance. But we'll definitely follow up and see what we can find out for you.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that would help as well, because I think it would give us even another thing that we would be able to talk with our mentors or mentorees or whatever we're called.
Trainees.
Trainees
Yeah.
and mentors.
In the meantime, we do have a lot of videos that are not available on our YouTube, not our volunteer YouTube, like our general YouTube for Michigan Humane, that do a lot of that behind the scenes. They just share them out for specific reasons. So we
Yep.
could potentially put together some of those links if anybody wants to see some of the more in-depth stories of what that looks like. They're all public. They just don't live on our YouTube for
Okay.
people to just access all the time. So we could work on putting that together so you guys could see a little more background. Okay, any other questions? Hands raised, anything about anything? Brian, you came off mute?
Yeah, I have one. I'm assuming you'll do this at boot camp, but like, how do we like schedule up time and make sure we're not colliding with other volunteers at the same shelter that are doing the same thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, if you guys are okay, if anybody needs to leave and I go over, please
Do
go ahead
so.
and go. Can you see my service screen, Allie?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Just gotta scroll down a little bit so we can see what you're looking at. There we go.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to show you guys the back side of service real quick, because eventually you guys will have the access to do this if you would like to do it yourself and go into service, and put your dates in yourself. We do have some volunteer mentors who do that, but let me pull up one here.
And we are hopefully working on getting everybody the the ability to do that. Cause so we do have some mentors that they'll give us the dates that they would like and we just enter it in for them.
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
how it's gonna start, is you guys are just
Yeah.
gonna give them to us. So we'll have those dates already picked out for anybody who has them. So when you give it to us, if we see, well, somebody else already has a scheduled date for that, we'll let you know. But we can see who all has registered in here. So we can pick these different dates and then we'll actually put, you can see this one says training led by Cynthia. We'll put who the individual that is leading that training in there as well, so that people can see that. Not that it really matters to the volunteers, but to us, so that we know that you've had your scheduled training each month. And then this is where volunteers can sign up for these. So if that interests you and you want to be able to do that, please let us know. I know not everybody's like that techie and wants to do those things, but if it feels better for you, like I said, we have volunteer mentors who already do that for themselves. It's just part of giving you access and showing you how to do it. And then you can go in there and change them. You can even get emails when people cancel, make it really easy for yourself. So that's the ultimate goal. But as for now, you'll just be letting whoever your on-site coordinator is, so whether that's Allie or Kellen or me at Petco, you'll be telling them your dates and then we'll put them in for you.
Did you have something else?
Nope, that's all.
Oh, okay. I saw that you're off mute. All
Okay.
right.
Any
Anybody
other
else?
questions? We're about wrapped up, but I want to make sure I get to anything else. There's something in
Oh.
the chat. Was there something? in the chat?
Brian said his battery's
Oh,
dying. Oh no.
thank you, Brian. We're done. So thank you so much. You can go. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, please let me know. Or if any of these things kind of bounce around in your brain, I hope we give you some confidence. Obviously, we're still getting rolling, so you don't have to have all the confidence in the world, but I hope you feel a little bit better of what your expectations are and how to handle things. And we'll always be there to help you. If you don't know how to communicate an issue or something with a volunteer, we'll help you get those word tracks.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop recording. Thank you for